It's treatment day. We're beginning to treat our colonies, and thought I'd explain a little bit of the process we go through. We do have a video showing us using Apiguard. It was either done last year or the year before, and I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. But this is our Walmart yard. These are not our best colonies. Seth was telling me some bees he was in yesterday were quite strong. It could have something to do with the fact that we got 400 nukes in this same yard too. Maybe a little bit too much competition, I don't know. They did make a little honey. So what we do is we strip the lids off, and the first thing we look at is the population. We're in a hurry, so we're not trying to go through every brood nest right now. We're on the lookout for duds or something that doesn't have enough bees, obviously depleted. And we will dig into that colony to see if it has brood or not. If it has brood, it's left and we treat it normally. If it doesn't have any brood, the box comes off and gets put over an escape board on another colony. This yard is entirely singles, which means they'll all get a 25-gram dose. If they're double deeps, we give them a 50-gram dose, unless the weather is really hot. If it gets into the low mid-90s, we decrease those doses accordingly. Sometimes we'll do a half a dose and do it twice as often. In other words, a half a dose every 5 to 7 days, 4 times in a row until we're finished. When we're able to give them a full dose, again, in this case 25 grams for a single or 50 for a double, we'll come back within 10 to 12 days and give them their second dose, and then that's it. They've only got 2 rounds. I just looked at the weather. We're in the low to mid 80s this week, and we have one day that's going to be 90 in about 5 days from now, so I'm comfortable giving these bees a full dose. So what all we do really basically, they've already got the rims on them, so we watch for colonies like this one over here that doesn't have many bees. First thing I do is look at the lid and see what the lid says. This lid says nothing, so we didn't record anything like a new queen or a cell introduced or anything like that. And also we got to check all of these for weight, and that's pretty simple. We just heft them and check them for weight. This frame has some old remnants of brood and some eggs and larvae. Yeah, this is queen right. So there's something different about this colony. It has no markings on the lid, so that tells me that it's probably an older queen, and we will probably requeen this before the season's over. The Apigards are going pretty much as close to the center as possible, but not directly under the feed hole. Before we leave, we'll have to every colony and decide whether we want to give them a 1 or 2 gallon bucket. So far, we haven't had to feed a lot. What do you think, Seth? Like 1 in 3 colonies needs feed, something like that?
Maybe like 1 in 4 or 5.
1 in 4 or 5, yeah. For some reason, just the way the weather worked and the honey flow worked, the bees backfilled their brood nests significantly this year, so the singles aren't real light like they are some years. Some years you take the honey supers off at the end of the flow and you've taken virtually all their food and you have to feed them immediately. We're not running into that this year. There's a few here and there that are like that, but for the most part, these little singles still have 10 or 15 or 20 pounds in them. And if they don't need feeding right now, we won't, because I don't want to plug up or congest the brood nest. The goldenrod in this area, the main goldenrod flow, is going to start in about 3 weeks. We really want to have this treatment as done as possible by that time, because when that pollen starts to come in, these bees will start to rear brood in earnest. And that's a good time to start giving them a trickle flow of something thin, like 1.5 parts water to 1 part sugar. As the pollen and the little bit of nectar is coming in off the goldenrod, we add that food and we create that chemistry that I talk about in several of our videos. It's a good time to feed is during a pollen flow, honestly. So if they don't need feed right now, we're not going to do it, so we don't constrict the brood nest. We'll pick it up in a couple weeks when we get towards the end of this treatment period. So basically all we have to do now, you can see they're all, Jesse just we've only been here 10 minutes. Jesse's already got the treatment on all the colonies. I checked this one already. This was smaller, and I checked it. It has a brand new queen. For some reason they raised a new queen and they're smaller. So this is ready to check for weight and feed, and then we move on. We go pretty rapidly. Now later, when we're done with our Apiguard treatment, that's the time when we will actually literally go into every colony and check the brood pattern and check what the queen is doing, see what's going on, and make a, I guess, end of the season judgment on that particular colony. And yeah, there will be a few duds. There might be some duds in here right now that we're not realizing because we're not digging in too deep. We're really only looking at the colonies that don't have many bees. And again, these colonies here do not have as many bees as some of our colonies do. That's just the way it is. Some yards end up better than others. I don't see anything wrong. I don't see any red flags. There's just not as many bee bodies. Let's walk along here. They'll be fine for winter. We don't need massive colonies going into winter. In fact, I don't even want them anymore. They just eat a lot of food and build up early and swarm early. Next year we're going to try to do something a little different, I believe. So far in the past we've used queens a lot from Chris Werner for making nukes in the spring, and this coming year we're going to try to make more nukes for sale with our own queen cells, which means our nuke production will probably be pushed back a week or two because we can't rear those early queens like we pick up from Chris. This yard looks like it's in okay shape. It's just not quite as strong as some of the other yards. Alrighty, let's check them for weight and feed them. We'll move on to the next yard. Just using the Hive tool, prying them loose on the pallet and see how the box feels. If it feels light, they'll get a bucket. If it feels heavy, they won't. Simple as that. That one's going to get a bucket. Yeah, some of them are still pretty heavy. Yeah, it'd be a mistake to feed something like that right now. Not many bees in that one, but I checked it. It's queen right. Huh?
We did bring some nukes in the box.
That's right, we did add some nukes here to replenish some empty spots. That's probably what it is. This is interesting. This doesn't happen very often. Usually we have to do a lot of feeding as soon as we take the honey supers off of singles like this.
It's gonna, when we get a little bit north of the shop, it's going to be a little different story.
This is actually one of the beauty of pallets. It's very simple to check for weight. Individual bottom boards, you can do the same. So if we pull the cap, we know it needs a bucket. That's 3. Brandon, I got to stop you for a moment.
Yes, sir.
You've been here all summer. What do you think?
I like it.
He likes it.
I like it.
He's got the disease. He's got it, y'all.
I got the bug for the
He's
bug.
got the bug for the bug. Not everybody comes out with the bug, trust me.
Yeah.
Some people only last a week or 2 or 3. Wow, only 3 need feed out of all these colonies?
There's more than 3. I think there might be 5 maybe.
5? Okay.
So far.
That's different. And then of course we got to start making time for all these nukes, finalize these things. They don't need food immediately, but at some point they will to finish off for winter. I think we've got about 400 nuke boxes that are going to overwinter either in nuke boxes or over a double screen board. That's good news, I guess. Just what we need, more colonies, right, Seth?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Up and up and up.
Up and up and up. Yeah. How you doing this year? What are you sitting at right now?
About 2. Right at
200?
about 2.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
did pretty okay for running mating nukes all summer.
Yeah, Seth made a lot of queens this year. He's also not sure that's what he wants to do in the future. 'Cause
That was a lot of work.
gets in the way of real
Yeah.
beekeeping.
Yup.
Okay, well, a few buckets and on to the next yard. You got these all counted out?
Yeah, we got 29 singles and 13 double Ds. So the singles are going to get a half dose of 25 milliliters, and the doubles are going to get 50 milliliters. That's according to, it's going to be a little cooler this week than it was last week too.
There's 66 full doses in one of these tubs, and we ordered quite a lot of it. Adds up too. This stuff isn't exactly cheap. I'll tell you what though, using this is cheaper than using Apiguard back when we used it.
Really?
Yeah, the last year we did Apiguard, the bill was $18,000. I haven't done the math on this, but it's significantly less.
I don't know if you want to show this. I marked the syringe there, the half dose and the full dose there, so it makes it easy, and I don't have to really look.
Yeah. Gotta stir it every time before you use it.
Yeah. It won't draw up very well if you don't.
Let's see what the other one looks like under the lid there. Yeah. Okay. It's about what we'd expect this time of year. Yeah, if that's a light double, go ahead and give it a 2-gallon bucket. That's the only colony in the whole yard that needed feed, doubles and singles. Pretty heavy yard. Heavy? Heavy. This is a strong yard of bees. These double deeps in this yard are very heavy. That's one of the differences with double deeps, is that feeding is not the issue, it is with singles. These honestly wouldn't have to be fed at all to make it till next spring, but here in a few weeks when the treatments are over, we will give them some. A little bit of stimulation. Let's see. Of course, the double deep's got a full 50 grams. Plenty of bees. Double deeps overwinter with a lot more bees than singles do in general. It's one of the advantages to them if you're a package producer or you like to make lots of nukes. Double deeps absolutely work better. Gives you a lot more assets in the spring to work with. More bees, more frames, more honey, more brood, more everything. Of course, singles have the advantage of being more efficient when it comes to treatment and getting through winter without, as many pounds of food. Pros and cons to both. That's a pretty good yard of bees here. Mediocre one.
Nice looking singles.
Nice looking singles. That's a dud. That's why I moved it off the pallet. And we literally just take the duds. There's 2 in this yard. Put them over a bee escape, which is on top of the rim and over the thymol treatment. And then the next time we come back, we can get those boxes. They've got nothing in them, just, you know, hopelessly queenless bees. Treat them like a honey super, and then get them off and take them to the cooler for the winter. Yeah. Definitely shrinking. Brood nests have been shrinking for a month now. There's just a couple of frames of brood in most of these. By the time they're ready for winter, these will just be 5 to 8 frames of bees. Singles definitely overwinter with less bees than a double deep. That one's kind of on the small side. These smaller ones, I check them, make sure they got to lay in clean, make sure they're not a dud. That one's got a few more bees. All in all, everything's looking pretty good. Not too many duds. Last yard had 3 or 4. Yard before that had none. Last yard, fellers. Aren't you glad? So you guys got 10 yards yesterday, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we're only getting 7 today. We got such a late start. It was lunch by the time we started.
We keep a groove though. It ain't been bad. It feels
No,
good.
yeah, we're doing good. It's not going to take forever to get the first round on, thankfully.
No, it's back.
Yeah, mine don't look as
Yeah.
hot. Oh, there's the queen right there.
Marker.
Yes, sir.
Show us how you do it, Seth.
Like that.
Mm-hmm. See the big spider on the back of that box?
Oh, the granddaddy long leg.
Yeah.
Them don't bother me. Black widows, I draw the line.
Yeah, we do. We see black widows back there in those handles
Yes, sir.
sometimes. I got hit by a black widow. Did I ever tell you about that? I got stung by a
Get it all cut up.
Yeah, I had to
and worked on.
cut out part of my thumb. It was just rotting. It wouldn't heal. It hurt
Gnarly
too.
stuff.
Huh?
It's gnarly.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like a decent yard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I just got a phone call from a friend in Nebraska that kind of inspired me to talk a little bit more about Apiguard. I think I need to be a little more concise in what I suggest. His call was about a friend of his, actually, who was reporting colonies that were removing dead brood after an Apiguard treatment. So my first question was, what was the temperature? And he said it was 100 degrees. My next question was it a full dose or a half a dose? It was a full dose. Well, a full dose of Apiguard at 100 degrees is just asking for trouble. I proved it to myself. I've ruined a bunch of colonies years ago, decades ago, when I first used Apiguard. I gave a bunch of colonies a full dose in the upper 90s, and it just ruined them all. If it's, first of all, when it gets 95 or 100 degrees, I don't do Apiguard at all. But if it's in the low 90s or upper 80s, I feel comfortable doing a half a dose. On a double deep like this one, a half a dose would be 25 or 30 grams. A full dose would be 50 grams. So knowing that it was going to be warm today, and actually the next couple days it's supposed to get into the low to mid 90s, we just gave him the 30 gram, which is a half a dose. The singles, a normal dose for us is 30 grams. We only gave them 20. Yeah, temperature matters when you're doing this Apiguard. It's real easy to ruin a colony giving them either too much or too hot. I really don't like using this stuff if it's over 82, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So basically anything up to 82, perhaps 85, we shoot for the half a dose, or excuse me, the full dose. And if it's over 82 or 85, we definitely go for the half a dose. And if it's over 90, we don't do it at all. We'll just wait. And that's not good either, of course. I mean, if you got to treat for mites, there's a reason. But boy, you can ruin a colony real quick over 90 degrees. definitely over 95, I wouldn't do anything at all. I'd wait till cooler weather. And I don't know the answer to that. That's one of the problems with Apiguard. Now, a lot of times people think because the dose is gone that it's done working, and that's not entirely true. Apiguard, or the thymol in Apiguard, is absorbed by the colony, I guess the woodenware and the beeswax, and kind of persists for a little while. If you put your nose down real close, even when the dosage of Apiguard is gone, you can smell thymol for a little while. Initially you'd think that's a bad thing, you know, if it's being absorbed by beeswax, but the good news is that it dissipates very quickly. Even the stuff that's absorbed by beeswax gases off and just kind of disappears pretty quick. Within a week it's gone. That's why even though a dose is totally gone on the card, it can still be effective for a little while afterwards. So that was a this was a 20 gram dose, would have normally been 30. And it's about half gone in just 2 days, 3 days. And in 2 days from now, it's supposed to get into the low to mid 90s, and that'll be completely gone. So I think we kind of just barely scooted under the heat wave that's about to come. And thankfully, we got it done, because I really don't want to go into late August without our bees being finished, you know, the treatment finished, because that's when they start rearing their winter bees. I don't like using Apiguard when I know the bees are trying to brood up for this fall buildup, I call it. When the goldenrod starts coming in, that pollen will normally stimulate them. I don't want to shut that down. I want them to start rearing winter bees in late August, early September. So in my view, it's really important to get this stuff on in early August and get it off a few weeks later. Anyway, I guess we're doing okay. It's warm here. It's about 85, 86 degrees. And again, it's supposed to be 92, 94 here in a couple days. I'm missing anything, Seth?
That's about it.
I think that's about it. So we've changed the way our boxes are getting robbed. We recently built this roof, and we created a long overhang. It's about 5 or 6 feet under here. We're just putting our stacks of supers under here so the bees that are about a quarter mile away can come down here and clean them out. We were taking a trailer up to them, but now we're having them come to us. And it works. They're out of the rain. You don't have to move them very far. And I know a lot of people really question the wisdom of us doing this, but I really like to get our supers nice and dry before we put them away for the winter. Keeps the comb in better shape in my view. So Seth is sorting supers onto pallets in preparation for going to the cooler. We rent cooler space at a food bank in town, and very lucky to have that. I used to use wax moth crystals for keeping our supers from getting messed up with wax moths. I never liked using it. I still don't like using it. And having this cooler that we can rent has really been a blessing. Jesse's getting ready to take this load up there. We'll have a lot of pallets of boxes up there before we're done. And they're great folks. Anytime we come, they'll load us up or unload us, whatever we need. They give us a good rate, and that's why this is doable. So we're lucky in that our medium supers are mostly new comb. There's very little comb that has had any brood root in them, but I still like keeping them in the cooler instead of outside or with wax moth crystals. We just seal them with cardboard and wrap them up. And then in the cooler's big. You could park a darn semi-truck in that cooler they got up there. And they'll stack them, you know, a couple pallets high in the cooler. If we got something we feel like the wax moth and or hive beetles are starting to get into a little bit, they'll put them in a freezer for us for a day or two. Kills everything before they move it into a cooler that is kept at about 38 or 39 degrees. So let's see what else can I say about that. I'll put a link in the video description for a little video on that cooler situation. Maybe at the end of this video I can put the same link, we'll see. We are in the middle of treating bees with Apiguard, but today is so hot that we're not doing it. We've got a cool spell coming up starting tomorrow actually. It's going to drop down into the mid 80s, so I feel comfortable putting Apiguard on at that temperature. I don't even like putting half doses on when it's in the mid-90s or something like that. So we're getting it done. We've got, every colony has had its first treatment, and we're going to start doing the second treatment tomorrow. Just too hot today. And we got to get this chore done anyway. So also, you can see we're starting to stockpile HDO plywood. We've got 14 units right now. I think that might get us through the winter. We've got a lot of lids and bottom boards to build, both for us and for the store.
Double screen boards.
And double screen boards, that's right. I hear the staple gun. Who's in there working?
Selena.
Selena's working. Yeah, okay.
She looks about lobster.
She looks about lopped. Yeah, she was working in the garden. My guess is she's sunburned by now. And all of those deeps, that's just feeders and stuff. That does not have to go to the cooler. That will be stored under this roof for the winter. But this comb is definitely going to the cooler.
Well, I'm headed to the cooler.
All right, we'll see when you get back. He'll have another load when you get back.
Yep.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Candid camera. Let me get my light set here. That's better. Okay, so Selena's assembling lids on this day away from beekeeping. Our lids are so simple, it's easy to assemble. So it was getting hot out there, wasn't it?
It was very hot.
She was working on the garden, pulling weeds and stuff, and after lunch we just had her come in here. We don't want our beekeepers to have heat stroke.